Once again, we are back with the Amazing Race recap of episode 4. Joining me tonight is Calbert. Calbert, how's it going?
Going good. What's going on, everybody?
Goldberg is also joining me tonight. Goldberg, how you doing?
Pretty good. Looking forward to this reviewing this episode with you guys.
Yeah. All right. So episode 4, Paraguay. Pretty interesting. A lot of more twists and turns again. We had a switchback. Overall, pretty decent episode. It was a non-elimination, so I think we were all right about that. But what was kind of your overall? I guess don't go into detail, but did you enjoy the episode, Calbert?
Yes, I liked the episode. Yep.
Goldberg?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I thought last week's was better, but I enjoyed it for sure. Yeah, I won't say any more than that, but I definitely enjoyed it.
All right. Well, the first thing that we had was we had some interesting taxi issues with some teams trying to find this roadblock. They had to make their way. I don't know, it was like an orchestra place, and a lot of taxi drivers didn't even know what it was. They didn't know where it was, especially Haley and Alana. What's her name? I always forget the second one's name. Haley and what is it?
Kaylin.
Got it.
Kaylin.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Kaylin and Haley had some issues trying to get to this place.
And their phone number is not. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. But yeah, some teams had taxi issues getting here. But the roadblock itself seemed pretty hard. At least it seems like a lot of the teams were there for at least 2 hours, it seemed, where they had to make a musical instrument out of trash, and they had to be precise. And especially my team, Eswar and Apana, he was there for almost 4 hours trying to get this thing done. Good thing he got it there quickly, but this seemed like a tough task. What was your thoughts, Goldberg?
Yeah, I was surprised because I thought that was something. I didn't think Eswar would struggle as much as he did, and when it came down to him and I don't know if it was Kaylin or Haley. I don't know. You guys know which one it was?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Okay. Well, when it came down to one of them, and Eswar, I just wasn't expecting Eswar. It just seemed like something that they would get through, and we'd have like maybe Gary and D'Angelo struggling on something like this, or like, I guess maybe the Blondes, but I didn't think Eswar would struggle the way he did. However, it didn't affect him too much in the long run. But yeah, Haley and Kaylin. Yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the end for them. Well, could have been the end, and it may turn out to be. But that's kind of. I mean, when you're there, how much longer were they there than everyone else? Maybe an hour.
Yeah, I would say about an hour.
Because they even edited to make it look decent, and she was.
Mm-hmm.
She was there far longer than anybody else. So the fact that they even remotely, had a chance at the next leg, which we'll get to, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was plus with the taxi issues that they had getting there, it was just it all kind of combined and made it a disaster.
Right.
Yeah. Calbert, your thoughts on this roadblock?
Well, I thought it was interesting too because it looked like they were trying to make a cello, which when the kids played the instrument, it looked like a guitar to me. I don't know. I'm not musically inclined, but I thought when Eswar said I'm an engineer, I was like, that's going to be troublesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I thought that was interesting. I did not realize how hard it would be to string the instrument. Like, because if you strung it too lightly, it broke, and if you strung it too tight, you broke the string.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely tough. If I were standing there in the lot, I would have struggled with it as well. Going, can I make a flute? can I make something simpler besides what this is? So.
I'm gonna say I would have been eliminated if I had to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever would have been able to finish it.
Man, even in the given amount of time, if you had even 3 hours to do it.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really hard thing to do. It really is.
Yeah. But Goldberg, your team, Will and James, they did this relatively pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna my thoughts for them. I'm gonna save for the next leg because I'm so high on this team right now, and yeah, I'm gonna save my thoughts for them for the next part of this race. I'm gonna save my thoughts on them.
And Calbert, your team seemed to do this challenge relatively easy. They were one of the first to get done with it.
It looked. I thought going in that once they crush this, and then I'm not going to ruin it, but once they crush this part, I was like, oh, okay, we're back on track. We have read the detailed clue. Everything is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not what happened, but yeah, I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good.
So. Yeah. So. Then teams, after they finished that, they went to the detour, or I'm sorry, they went to make this Paraguay drink look like a bunch of leaves with water. I don't know.
Pretty much.
And they had to drink it. Most teams, they drank it pretty easily. So, and
seemed to like it too. They seemed to like it.
Yeah, they liked it. And then we had the yield board, and nobody used the yield. Were you surprised by this? I kind of was.
I was surprised, especially considering how close the teams were, especially once they got done making the cello. I thought, okay, this is going to be the time where Hung is going to use it, and but nobody did. I was surprised, and that makes me wonder. I mean, are they going? Is the show going to force them to use it then at some point? Because this is the second time that all the teams decided not to use it. So I'm thinking out loud here. I don't know, but it did make it interesting to me that everybody was like, no, I'm not going to use it. So I'm just going to hope that we don't get eliminated then, I guess.
Yeah, Goldberg, were you surprised?
I don't know if I was surprised because I feel like all these teams are too nice to each other, other than Will and James trying to screw over Alana and Leo, which I totally respected. But other than that, nobody's really been kind of trying to get an upper hand or screw anyone else over, really, other than them. So, and even they kind of backtracked on it. Oh, we really like Alana and Leo. We just respect them.
Yeah.
Like should have just said straight up, like, oh, we don't like what they did, and we try to get them back. Like, oh, I would have liked that more. But yeah, I don't know. I actually wasn't that surprised because nobody's really been going against anyone other than Will and James and Alana and Leo. Everybody else has been kind of a little too friendly for my liking. Because I certainly would have used it. I mean,
yeah, I'm kind of surprised Michelle and Victoria didn't use it on either Iswar and Aparna or the Blondes.
Right.
To be honest.
Right.
Because they were out of there not too far ahead of those
Honestly,
two.
they should have used it on Iswar and Aparna because they were more, no disrespect to the Blondes, but they're more of a threat down the line. That would have been somebody I wanted to get off, made fall behind further than what they were.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It would have gave them some more leeway. But then we got to the detour, which was balancing the bottle, and you had to do this dance or this routine, or stacking the watermelons. First thing first, what challenge would you have picked, Calbert?
I would have done stacking the watermelons.
Mm-hmm.
2 reasons. One, I have a 5 head, so I can't. I was never able to balance a book on my head in school. I can do that. So I would have done the watermelons because it's essentially you are essentially making a big Jenga board, essentially. That's down, but you're essentially just stacking one watermelon on top of another with different angles. And even though I wasn't great in geometry, I can do that. I can do that much better than trying to balance a bottle and dance at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would have done the watermelons, and that's why. I mean, we haven't touched on my team, but I'll touch on them here. D'Angelo and Gary, I had no fault with them going. You're football players. You can chuck the watermelon at each other all day, and you'd be able to stack them. Now, of course, it had to be stacked a certain way, which my team struggled with. But it's going back to season 20, so did everybody else that tried to do it in the beginning. And I would have done that. And I would have just gotten, if I would have been forced to do the bottle challenge, that's when I would have been eliminated because it would just be too hard. So I thought the watermelon challenge was going to be easy. Okay, you stack the watermelons, you stack them a certain way, they look a certain way, easy peasy. Should take an hour and a half tops. If you're chucking watermelons at each other, not hitting the tree, it should have been the lesser two evils. Stack the watermelons, make it easier. Don't dance, and drop a bottle on your head. So
right. I think I would have picked the watermelons, but if I was with somebody who was like, I don't know, a dancer or whatever, and they were, really inclined that we could do it, then fine, I could probably be talked into it. But if I'm with, just your regular Joe Schmo, I'm definitely just doing the watermelons because, it may have taken longer, but at least I know I can do it.
Right.
But Goldberg, what would you have picked?
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth. If my wife was my partner, I'm doing the dancing one. If I'm with a guy, I'm definitely doing the watermelons. I mean, it's cut and dry to me. Gary and D'Angelo, no doubt, should have picked the watermelons. And if I'm with a girl, I'm just going to do the dancing thing. And it's going to take me a few tries because with the cameras in my face, I definitely would be shaking a little bit. And I'd probably drop the bottle quite a few times, but I think eventually I'd get it. But the watermelons would, if it's two guys, that seems definitely like the easier of the two.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I think so. Will and James at this task, they practiced at home. Seems like a lot of teams actually practice this at home. They showed Lana and Leo in the deleted scenes that they practiced this task, so it makes sense that they both did that. And man, it took Will and James a decent amount, but I feel like they got there so fast that they had a lot of time to screw up and still get it, still get first place. Goldberg, I guess. I mean, give your thoughts on what you were going to say earlier about Will and James.
Yeah, well, first I wasn't not aware that Alana. I didn't watch the additional scenes, so I didn't know that Alana and Leo had practiced this also because they honestly touted Will and James on this episode that Will and James had practiced this prior to coming on the show. They did their homework. They knew what they were doing, and yeah, it took them I think it took them maybe 2 or 3 tries, maybe 3, but only one of them struggled, and it wasn't for very long. And it almost seemed like compared to everybody else, whether they were doing the watermelon or the bottles, Will and James really breezed through it. But also Michelle and Victoria breezed through it super quickly because they were so far behind when they got there.
Yeah,
that they did it. I don't even know if they screwed up at all unless they edited that thing to make it seem like they didn't, but I think they got it on their first try. I don't think they screwed up at all.
They might have. I know Eastwar and Aparna got it pretty quick as well. That's why they were able to make.
You know what? Eastwar and Aparna, I think, was the team that got it right away. I don't think they dropped it once, at least not on camera.
Right.
Once, and that was just to try and I think it was Victoria was just trying to balance, have the bottle be a little bit more centered on her head.
Yes.
But still got it. I mean, so it.
Yeah, it was Eastwar and Aparna. You're right. Who were right? They showed up so late because they were the second to last team to finish the guitar thing or the cello, whatever you want to call it, and they immediately jumped multiple teams by finishing that so quickly. I mean, I was worried for you for a minute there, Hurls. That they were going to be competing with the Blondes, but they just breezed through that. That there was just no. You didn't even have to worry at all. And Gary and D'Angelo, oh my God, what a nightmare! What a nightmare! And it's so weird because you'd think that would be a challenge that they should breeze through. That should be something where it takes some kind of athletic ability to toss watermelons to the other guy. But I mean, when Hung and Chi literally switched challengers and still passed them,
yes,
that was.
Yeah.
This is where the show got very, very interesting to me.
They're still chasing watermelons down the street.
Well, in the deleted scenes, D'Angelo was struggling. Like, he was struggling just to keep going. And Gary actually had to talk him into, hey, we got to keep this going, you know. And D'Angelo was, I guess he was getting a lot of he was dehydrated and he was getting
really
cramps.
I think he also thought that they were literally just finishing it just to finish it.
Yeah.
He thought they were going to be eliminated.
Well, especially when he got to the Met. I mean, he pretty much just I'd like to thank the Academy.
Right.
Phil, thanks for letting us come to Paraguay. We appreciate it. We know we're going to
enjoyed my last time ever being on a TV camera. And,
and then Gary said some 4-letter word that can't be repeated on television.
Great reaction, though. Great reaction.
Yeah, it was.
Well, too, like, I think their problem was they had their bass, like, it was faulty, and they didn't, instead of trying to fix that, they just kept trying to, you know, put more watermelons on top of the base that they had instead of taking the base apart.
Too, because Hung and Chi showed up late and they showed up right, and they were right next to them. They were literally throwing their watermelons right next to them, and were devising their plan while D'Angelo and Gary were screwing up. Like, they said, okay, the watermelons need to be turned a certain way. Like, I don't know what Gary and D'Angelo were thinking, but I mean, they were there like so far into the night. It was
I don't think they thought that there was going to be as much geometry involved as it was. Like, because there were, I mean, I'm not great at angles, but there was at least a 45-degree angle on the one side that I saw where I actually just think that they were just focused on stacking it, keeping it straight, keeping it upright, you know, and forgetting about the fact that it all has to be centered. It all has to be a certain angle, because that was half the problem. Is that the right side of their design was the one that was giving them the most trouble. Which
were you concerned that the Blondes were going to pass them?
Yes, especially when it turned to night. Because I was like, okay, if they don't get it within the next, I mean, for editing time, I was watching it going, if they don't get it within the next 20 minutes, they have to literally consider whether or not they want to continue doing this or go and try and do the dance. Because you're right, D'Angelo was extremely frustrated, and that's why they even switched who was throwing the watermelons, because I guess they thought that would make a difference. While Hung was working on communicating with Chi, and literally saying, I have to communicate better. And after the third time of saying that, I would have looked at theirs and gone, okay, what are they doing that we aren't doing? You know, before nightfall even happens. You know, so I was very concerned. I was very concerned that they were going to get eliminated.
Well, to be fair, Hung and Chi didn't really have the easiest time either. They were bickering at each other quite a bit.
Yes.
Especially with the first, bottle challenge. I thought they were.
Or did they make it? Or were they trying to make us believe that Hung and Chi were arguing for the first time in the 5 or 6
No.
episodes that we've been watching.
I would say no, because she said after the leg was over, he said communication has been an issue with us from the beginning of the relationship. So, I mean, you could be right. You could be right, Goldberg. I think that's an issue.
She definitely was barking. She was barking a lot of orders to Chi. Hung was. And I mean, Chi is very calm though, so he's not gonna he's not gonna go back at her. But Hung was the one. I mean, she's kind of the intense one of the two, and I just feel like they struggled a little bit on this task. So, it was a hard task.
And you're right. I mean, there absolutely is some drama building. It's part of the show. Mm-hmm. But I think that could be a downfall for them possibly later.
Do you guys expect that at the next episode, all the teams are going to be aligned again on the same plane, and we're going to be back to square one again?
Yes.
Yes, I would assume.
And now, does that always happen? Because I feel like that's just not fair.
They do it a lot when they're doing different continents. I think I mentioned that last week when they're leaving like one continent to go to another continent. They got a long plane ride. Yeah, they're basically getting equalized.
I don't like that. I just don't think that's fair, because you got Will and James who finished first both weeks, and now they're in 8th.
Mm-hmm.
They're tied for 8th. Everybody's tied for first or 8th.
Yeah, I think that was.
How was that fair?
Was that Leo that said that this past week, where he said he pretty much said that exact same thing. He's like, oh, well, we're really close to first.
Right. Unless they don't, is there a chance maybe they don't do that? Is there like any kind of chance?
Well, that's I don't know. It's really tough, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to be able to leave, 15 minutes ahead of everyone, but then they have to go to the airport and get plane tickets. And that's when
nothing.
Yep. Yeah. And that's when they'll find,
okay.
That's when they'll
I just wanted to know that it plays a role in my rankings this week. So
sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Especially because this flight, which we're not ruining anything by saying this, they're going to Paris this week. So this flight, that's a long flight. So
yeah, from Paraguay, yeah,
from Paraguay to Paris is a long flight. So that's a good point. I mean, could they throw in the yield at this point? Possibly. I mean, we don't exactly know what the challenges are this week. Possibly, if I'm Will and James, I might as well if I get the option, I might as well use it, because we all know that they're going to yell cab, cab, cab as soon as they land.
Yeah.
So that might be an opportunity for go ahead.
I was just going to say, before we get into next week's, I mean, we had the volleyballers who just, they're level-headed. They're not dominating though, but they're staying afloat in the same spot, which so we didn't really have much drama from them. So basically, after the challenges were done, then we had the placings, and first place Will and James this week. Goldberg back-to-back first place finishes for Will and James. What you thinking?
It's just another week at work, man. I mean, we're predicting first place finishes every week now for Will and James. So they're the top team right now. I mean, they've to me, honestly, and I'm not just saying this, to me, they've taken over. I think them and Hung and Chi have to be the odds-on favorites to win the whole thing right now. If you're setting odds, because clearly they're the two top teams right now. And I'd put the volleyballers, I guess, third, but Will and James just, they're confident right now, not cocky, but confident. And I think they're in the driver's seat, and they got something good going, and they're not afraid to screw anyone else over if they have to. And they want to win this thing. So feeling good about them.
Yeah. I mean, they had a great week. I mean, there's a little some drama between them and Leo and Alana this week. It was small, but I want to see more of that.
The cameras
Yeah.
wanted it, but it was, well, neither team is interested in really progressing that drama. So
right.
Well, we'll see. Maybe Alana and Leo want to, but.
And then second place this week, surprisingly, Michelle and Victoria. What a bounce back from the disaster they had the previous week.
Yeah, and I believe that's the second time they finished second, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
First week. So.
Yep.
But that just plays into what I said that if you're
absolutely.
equaling these teams at the beginning of the episode, anybody can finish second.
Right.
Yeah.
And because no one got eliminated, which we all got right, that is where Kaylin and Haley, they are going to have to crush their speed bump, because that is going to be the separator as we go into next week, because they're going to have to do a speed bump.
Yeah.
And how quickly they can do that will say, because I'm not ruining anything by saying this, somebody's going to get eliminated on Wednesday. We don't know who, but somebody's going to get eliminated on Wednesday. So the quicker you do the speed bump, the quicker you have a chance to maybe finish in the top 5. Because as we sit right now, Kaylin and Haley would be finishing last had they gotten eliminated.
Yeah.
So, this would be the time to pull out the strategy if you want to. How am I going? If we're at the point now, which we're getting close, we're down to 8. We're at the point now where, okay, I want to be, if I'm Will and James, I want to be the number 1 team. How do I get there? What do I have to do? If I have to step over Michelle and Victoria, so be it. I just won $5,000. I won a trip the week before. I'm pretty much set. I've done my, I'm at my dream spot right now. What do I have to do? Because we're at that point now where, yes, the teams are separating themselves. So now we have to take it up another notch. Okay, we're separating ourselves. How do we get into the top 3?
And then, Michelle and Victoria, impressive week this week, just crushed the bottle challenge. And then third, we had Leo and Alana, surprisingly, coming in at third. They did very well at the bottle challenge as well. I think they're kind of, people are sleeping on them right now. And they kind of seem like they're getting their groove a little bit.
Well, but with good reason, though, because this week or this next episode, Alana could be crying in the street.
Yeah.
So yes, very good. Congratulations, you finished in the top 3 this week. What happens next week then, when you might have to make a pie or something, and the crust wasn't made exactly correct? What do you do then? Because Leo can only carry them so far. There's only certain words that Leo can say so many times, like, we got this, we can do this, blah blah blah. That before I'm under the impression that the nervous breakdown is coming for her.
Who's gonna wear tighter pants this week, Alana or Leo?
Good point.
Probably Leo.
I think Leo too. My money's on Leo. Yeah.
The volleyballers coming in 4th, even keel, no drama with them.
They are a freaking ship.
Yep.
They don't let anything get to them.
And I think they've done the harder task the last 2 weeks. I think that's the only reason they're not in the top 2.
Yeah.
And then 5th, we had Ishwar and Aparna. They nailed the bottle challenge, but the thing about Ishwar and Aparna is they seem to have very slow starts, but then they all of a sudden, the second half, they come back roaring. So if they could put together a good first half, they could possibly be in the top 3, but until they can get a good first half and not just have a good second half, they're kind of one of those middle pack teams right now. And then 6th, we had Hung and Chi, which was their worst week so far. So Goldberg, you don't think Hung and Chi You're not worried about them. You think this was just an off week for them.
Yeah, I don't even think it was really an off week. I think everybody struggled with the watermelons and the bottles. So I don't think they were really that far away from anyone else. I don't really think. Yeah, they struggled. They had to switch things, but they still came in sixth. They basically did two challenges, and they finished sixth. So I'm not worried about them at all. And I think that the editors and the producers tried real hard to make it seem like these two were arguing, and I'm just not buying it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the big thing for them though this week was that they realized right away, I can't do the bottle challenge. We have to switch.
Yeah,
like it was almost instantaneously. Probably, from at any time, maybe between 5 and 10 minutes. I can't do this one. We got to switch. And that's the thing. Like, that's the thing about the show. If you realize that you can't do something, you have to switch, and you got to switch right away. And usually what happens with this show is that sometimes the teams stick it out a little too long, like D'Angelo and Gary almost did, and that's where it can cost you. Had Gary and D'Angelo switched, they would have been finishing last. Because at that point, the sun had gone down, and they.
Do you think Gary could have done that bottle challenge though?
No,
I don't think he could have. I think they had to do the watermelon.
Yeah.
Yep. And then seventh, we had Gary and D'Angelo, who were there quite a while, and then coming in eighth was the Blondes, Kaylin and Haley. I think they did the bottle challenge somewhat relatively quick. But
they made it seem that way, and they also made it seem like it was a race to the finish line, which I don't think it was.
Oh, they do that every week, though.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I don't know. The Blondes are they're kind of running into that hurdler territory where anything that can go bad will go bad for them.
But again, I'm on that thing that if they're equaling everybody out at the beginning of the episode, who the fuck knows what could happen?
Well, true, and that's why whatever their speed bump is, they're going to have to nail.
Yeah,
and, I'm just going to use I'll just use a time for an example. They're going to have to nail within like a half hour. Now, usually, history tells me that the speed bump is, or it can be very simple. Sometimes it's time-consuming because it could be, on a beach somewhere. But it's usually fairly simple, and then they go, "Oh, this is."
So, are they doing this? Are they doing it while everybody else is already racing?
Yes.
So while everybody else says go, they have to do a speed bump.
Yeah, well, it's placed somewhere in the leg.
Somewhere in the leg, yeah.
Oh.
It could be right away, or it could.
And they're the only team that has to do it.
Correct.
Yes, because
my rankings are about to change.
Yep. Well, it just depends. Some teams have done the speed bump so fast it didn't even matter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave my rankings the same then.
It depends. It just depends. It could go. It can go either way.
It could.
It depends. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna change it again.
It could literally be something because they're going to Paris. It could literally be something as sing the French national anthem, and if they can sing it and it gets the approval, you're done. If it's making a crepe, that takes a little bit of time. But
you know what? Will and James have been to France, so you don't have to worry about them. They've been.
Well, if we're going by past seasons, I remember the Texas boys, the team that I picked in 2017. They had to wash all those clothes in that river, and that took forever. But then you also saw Sherry and Cole. They had to sell some food, and that didn't take that long. So it really just depends. It's just.
Wait, so have either one of you picked a winner from the beginning?
I did last season.
You did.
Okay.
Yep.
My team finished second.
Yep. We took first and second. Yep.
You guys literally picked the first and second finishers?
Yes.
From the beginning? That's pretty damn impressive.
Well, it was an all-star season, so we knew what we were getting, though.
Okay, so previously before that, you has anyone prick the winner from the beginning? Or?
I had top 4. I was going on this streak where I'd pick the 4th place team for a couple seasons.
Yeah, generally
4th, 5th. Yeah.
So is the fact that all 3 of our teams are still in it? Is that
pretty good? I would say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering
where we're at. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm a little nervous because my team finished first 2 weeks in a row. That doesn't bode well.
Well, right.
It's tough to say.
Yeah. It's well, we've seen it too. You can see it where your team starts first, and then all of a sudden you blink, and you go, "What happened? We're 5th." You know, and it really is just the minor little details that we don't pay attention to, but we go, "Oh, that's going to be important sometime down the road." As you're watching the episode, and usually 9 times out of 10 it is. I mean, so it just because you finished first, and I agree with you, Goldberg. I think Will and James have separated themselves. I would say they're the favorite to win it right now. That doesn't mean that they will.
It doesn't mean much.
Yeah, they could absolutely shit the bed next week and be second to last.
It's like exactly.
Well, because especially, I mean, I'm not ruining anything by saying this. Going off of the preview, not being able to drive a stick. I don't know exactly where it is, but not being able to drive a stick clearly gives them some trouble. I don't know what that has to do with the episode, but not being able to drive a stick clearly gives them some issues. Doesn't mean they're not first.
And I got some thoughts on that. Let's do our power rankings, and then I'll give my thoughts, and we'll talk about the upcoming episode. But Goldberg, you start the power rankings this week.
Shit. Okay. So we're going 8-1 here. Or we're going 1-8.
I joined you guys last week in doing the 8-1
because I could see where you'd want to go 1-8. It makes sense, but
it's easier. But
what do you want to do? You tell me. I got them lined up. So
do the 8-1.
Okay, 8-1. Okay. I think we could agree this is going to be an elimination week unless they do the craziest thing. Probably it's never happened 2 weeks in a row, right?
Right.
So
I would assume so.
I gotta just eventually. I think one team is going to be eliminated that we don't expect to be eliminated, and unfortunately, this week I'm going with Riley and Madison, the volleyballers. I think we're just going to turn and something. It's going to be one team where we're just completely not expecting it, and that's the team I'm going to go with, and that's the only reason why, because I think they are a top team, but I'm just expecting one team to struggle one week and almost unfairly be eliminated. So I'm gonna put them 8th, just going out on a limb because hey, if I'm right, I look like a genius, right? So
wow.
7th, I'm gonna say Gary and D'Angelo because I think they're gonna. I have them finishing top 4, but I think they're gonna weasel by for a few weeks here. So I have them 7th. 6th, I have Aparna and Eswar. 5th, I have Kaylin and Haley. But I mean, you guys say that they, if they zoom through, what do you call it?
The speed bump.
The speed bump.
Yeah, the speed bump.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do zoom through it, I'm not, and they see the other teams. What are the odds that, they finished 8th, but if they catch up to the other teams, they're probably going to be safe. I mean, the odds that you finished last 2 weeks in a row when you catch up to everyone else, I don't know. I don't think it's going to go the way we think it's going to go, basically. Sure. So 4th, I have Michelle and Victoria. I think they're on the rise, and I think they're going to be a fixture in the top 4 for a couple weeks to come. 3, I have Alana and Leo because Hurls, I agree with you. I think they're on the rise too, and they're getting more comfortable and they're getting more competitive. And I think they're gonna get Will and James at some point. I don't know when it's gonna be, but they're gonna get them back at some point. 2, I think Hung and Chi are gonna get back into the top 2 because I think that was bullshit the way they tried to make them look like they were arguing. And 1, I think Will and James are going for the trifecta, the turkey, 3 weeks in a row. These guys. They're going to make us believe, they're going to argue because they can't drive a stick, but it's BS. They're finishing first, 3rd week in a row. Let's go.
I like your optimism. Calbert. What's your power rankings?
The only difference with my power rankings this week to last week is my top three has changed. So 8, I have Caitlin and Haley. I think this is it. I think this is the week they go home, because I just think that the speed bump might give them an issue.
Say it ain't so.
7, I have Leo and Alana. Yeah, great. Congratulations. You finished third. You're going to be crying in the street here probably this week. 6, Michelle and Victoria. That's going to change. I think they're a top 4 team, but as I sit right now, they're 6. 5, D'Angelo and Gary have officially made me start to sweat, which is not good. Sweating for me is not good. That usually means that they're not going to do very well, but I have them 5. 4, I have Esfar and Aparna, but I'm concerned for them too, because just like Hurls said, the first half of the race is when they struggle. The second half of the race is when they make up some ground. I don't know how long that can continue. 3, Riley and Madison. They are the volleyballers. They don't let anything get to them. I have to occasionally check to make sure they have a pulse. 2, I have Chi and Hung. I just think it was just a bad week this week. I think they're fine. And then 1 would be Will and James. I think if they don't win it all, something catastrophic happened. They're really good. They're really good back-to-back weeks. They are starting to separate themselves, and they do not care who they step over to do it. That could totally backfire with me next week, but right now I have Will and James at 1. So there we go.
All right. My power rankings, I got at number 8, Kaylin and Haley. I don't really see much hope for them.
Come on.
They had one good week, where they took third. That was last week. I don't know. They got a lot going against them this week. Unless one team really, really struggles and just cannot do a challenge, I got to put them at 8. I just don't really see how I could put them any higher. 7th, I think I got to go with, oh man, this is tough because it really is balancing. I mean, these teams have gone all over, but I'm going to go Leo and Alana too. They had a good week, but yeah, they're all over the place. So I think though, I just don't like how Alana just melts down, but I think they're way ahead of the Blondes though, in my opinion. I just do. 6th, I'm going to go D'Angelo and Gary. I got to move them down. There's too many times where they get stuck on one thing and it just doesn't go well for them. It's too many times, 2 times in 4 episodes. So I think they'll have a bounce back this week, but I got to put them at 6. 5, I got to go with Ishwar and Aparna. Reasons I've already said, and Calbert's kind of mentioned. They got to have better first halves. They got to have an episode where they just it all comes together, and it just hasn't happened yet. But they're at 5. They're in the middle there for me. 4, I'm moving Michelle and Victoria up. They had a really good week, and they've had 2 second place finishes, so I can't let that go unnoticed. So they're my number 4 team. 3 this week, I am going to go with Will and James. I'm not buying it yet. 2 first place finishes, very nice. But I don't, just something about them. I could see they're a ticking time bomb for me, and I feel like a blow up is coming at some point. 2, I'm gonna go with got to leave Hung and Chi there. I mean, they had a bad week. It was real. I was really thinking about putting Will and James at 2, but I'm gonna go Hung and Chi there at 2. They had a really bad week, and going back to number 1 for me are the volleyballers. They have not had a problem yet, and they've done 2 of the harder challenges that take longer. So I'm putting the volleyballers at 1 still. I still think they're the top team to beat until I'm proven wrong with that. But yeah, that's my power rankings for the week. So, okay, so let's talk about next week's episodes from the previews we've seen. And this is directed at Goldberg, kind of. But Will and James, these guys should know that on Amazing Race, you have to drive stick for almost 85% of the time. the vehicles that you're going to drive are stick. How do they not know that I mean, they've watched all these seasons. They've had to know they should have probably got stick. They should have had manual car driving at some point. What do you think?
I think that they're going to do just fine, and that was editing, and they're going to be just fine in driving the stick. And I okay, maybe they do struggle for 10, 15 minutes, but they're going to be ahead at that point, so not going to be an issue. They're trying to lead us to believe that the team that finished first 2 weeks in a row is going to struggle, and I'm not buying it.
Are you concerned that I have them now 1 in my power rankings?
Yeah, because now I think they're going to be eliminated. So thank you.
Good, my strategy worked.
They're going to finish 7th or 8th, definitely this week. Thanks. I was confident until you ranked them first.
I actually have I have the words of the preview up. It says teams in Paris, France must whip up some tasty treats and make enough chantilly cream for 4 pies, as well as compete in a series of carnival.
Come on, that's right up Will and James's alley. We're fine.
4 pies.
That's also up the Blondes alley. I mean,
yeah, it could be.
Gary and D'Angelo could be in trouble here.
They could. That does concern me.
There's no doubt 1 week someone's going to get eliminated that we have none of us think is going to get eliminated. It's going to happen.
You're exactly right. I mean,
by the law of averages, it's going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why basically, I think the volleyballers are a top team, but it takes one. All it takes is one bad week.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That definitely happens quite often too.
And now
there's no reason behind me putting them 8th other than I think 1 week we're going to be surprised, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this is the week it's going to be.
You could be right.
Yeah. I don't want to see them be eliminated though. I like them as a team. So.
Right.
But I also want Will and James first, the Blonde second, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Generally, okay. So I guess this self-driving task that they do in Paris probably starts off right away. So that does bode well for you if they can, come back and, just nail these tasks.
But how about, listen, but if you think off the top of your head, you would think that the team that would struggle with that would be the Blondes, and possibly maybe Michelle and Victoria could struggle with that, and possibly Alana and Leo could struggle with something like that.
Sure.
Well, I'll spoil it here.
Uh-oh.
Both of those teams do well. No, I mean,
what?
Michelle and Victoria and Leo and Alana, they both, at least one of them knows how to drive stick.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know about the Blondes,
Leo?
though. They didn't show the Blondes.
I just gained some respect for Leo. He's more, he's more manly than I thought.
Yeah, watch that preview and watch the interaction between Leo and Alana and Will and James. Yeah. There's more beef coming between.
So you're
two.
Saying those tight pants are deceiving? He really is kind of masculine.
Well, they're in a parking garage, and Leo basically gets out of his car and drives Will and James's car up so they can
kidding.
Go. No, because he gets so frustrated.
Right.
He parks their car out of the way so all the teams can pass him.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And Will looks like just
and Will
distraught.
And James are okay with that?
Well, yeah, they had to because he doesn't know how to drive stick.
Right.
He doesn't know at all. He's going 2 miles per hour.
All right, they're out. They're
getting honked at by a bunch of people too.
They're right. If they get eliminated this week, I will not be surprised, honestly. But that doesn't bode well.
But you know what, though? This whole thing could make you believe, they're struggling now, and then all of a sudden, right after it cuts off, he figures out how to drive. And
that was my thinking, so. Or somebody gives him a tip or something. That was...
Well, and that's the thing, too. I wonder, because the alliance, or the alliances...
Yeah.
The alliance has continued. How... We're on to episode 5, ? I believe?
Yeah, we're on 5. By the way... Everybody who's listening to this, check your DVRs because my DVR thought that it already recorded last week. So go there and hit the record button again because I had to do that.
Yep. Mine did.
I also don't think that the team that they made us in the preview think is going to struggle the most they're not going to sit there and give away, okay, they struggle the most, they're going to be eliminated. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So whether we think they're going to struggle the most or not, I can pretty confidently think Will and James are not going to be the last team to arrive.
No, I don't think so. I think the Blondes are, but
how much?
But why? But you know what? You both think the Blondes are, but why? Just because they finished last this past week?
I don't have confidence in the way. I mean, they've had one good week, but they've had a lot of struggle. I mean,
But
they're
only
lucky
been what,
to even be in this point.
There's been what, 4 episodes?
4 episodes, yeah.
So it's not like, I mean, they finished third one of the episodes, so basically 25% of the time they finished comfortably.
This is the part of the game where the luck part is going to have to kick in for them. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to struggle.
But we're rooting for them. We're all rooting for them, right?
Well, and that's true. Like at the end of the day, how much longer does the alliance between the top 4 teams usually?
Not
how
much.
Much does that last? That's going to have to break at some point.
I think it's over. I honestly think it's over. I think it ends this week.
Okay, fair enough.
It really didn't seem to have an impact this week, though.
Yeah, you can't have fun.
Well, no, but I mean, they did help each other with making the instrument. So, it had to be 38 inches, right? So this part had to be here.
Okay, here's one more question for you guys before we wrap this up. We all know who we want to finish first, the Blondes. But no, we all want the team we pick to finish first. But who right now, if you could have a team finish 8th and you got to pick it and you're ready to eliminate one team, who would you want to be eliminated this week?
That's easy. Yeah.
Okay, my answer is different.
Okay.
I want Leo and Apana out, but yeah. Or
Leo and Apana.
Leo and Alana. Leo and
So
Alana.
you want 2 people from 2 different
That's
teams?
Yeah.
Great.
There you go.
Leo and Apana. So Eswar and and
Victoria. Yeah.
Team up. No. I think Michelle. I kind of want to see Michelle and Victoria go. I don't know why, but I don't have any.
They're still the annoying team for me. That part hasn't changed.
Leo and Alana to me are just that villain team that like I want to see what happens with them and Will and James and I don't know, something. I just want something. I don't want them to just get eliminated. I want someone to fuck them over for them to get eliminated.
There's 2
Frank
feuds
Jerry,
going on right now.
Frank and Jerry,
they
show Frank and Jerry laughing in their living room as Leo and Alana get fucked over.
I mean, right now we got 2 feuds. We got the big ones, obviously Will and James and Leo and Alana, but there's a smaller one with Michelle and Victoria and Hung and Chi. I mean, just from the stuff we've seen from them.
Yeah.
So,
but if you're saying that Leo drives Will and James' car out of the way,
because they're stuck on the ramp in the parking garage.
So he had to have given Leo permission to take the wheel.
Oh, I mean, Will asked for it. Will was fine with him because Will doesn't know. He literally.
Leo and Alana are passing Will and James in this episode. They are passing them.
At least at some point.
Right.
But that could be the beginning of the episode.
It could be. It is the beginning, I believe.
Yeah. What do we know about that though? Phil is a stickler for the rules. So if a team helps another team, or B, if a team doesn't follow the clue, that can lead to a penalty. And the penalty tends to lead to a 3-hour penalty. So
it's different though. Every penalty is different.
True.
But the thing is though, there's nothing against helping teams. You can help as many teams.
That's true.
Because Leo and Alana helped out the Blondes.
That's true. That's true. It's just a thought. I don't know if that's going to lead to.
Well, yeah, if it says in the clue, that would be a different story then. Yeah, right. They would get in trouble. Yep. So, yeah. You watch that preview, but it doesn't look good. Will is just he seems absolutely just out of his element.
And I'm not ruining anything either. Riley and Madison struggle with the carnival game, and Hung-in-Chi get absolutely plastered with now what we know are pies. So
Riley and Madison they're going to be eliminated. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but they're done. This is the end for them.
You might be right.
Well, at least they're going to Europe where every country speaks English. So,
and they are going to Paris too. So yeah. So
I don't know. I think tomorrow's going to be good because we're finally going to get an elimination. So there's some pressure. There's some pressure.
Could it be I doubt this, but could it be a double elimination?
No.
I didn't think so either, but I thought.
Nope. I mean, I'm just, unless they really changed the rules this week.
Right. I didn't think
here this year.
I thought it.
Here's another question for Calbert. Do you think we're going to have the head-to-head this season at all?
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
Because we haven't had it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder when do we have it, right? Because I don't think it doesn't look like it's going to be. It could be this week, because that would make sense. Carnival games would make sense. That would make sense for it to be a head-to-head for Carnival games.
Yeah.
So, it's possible. I definitely think it happens. So yeah.
All right, we're final score for the Paraguay episode. I'll go first. I'll say it was I think there was enough entertainment there. I think it was a good 7 out of 10. Goldberg, what was your score?
Yeah, I think about the same. I would say 7.5. I think it was a good episode, and it got super interesting when Gary and D'Angelo couldn't just. Everybody was passing them, and they just couldn't put those watermelons upright.
they are going to give me a heart attack. I know they are, and I know at the end of the day they're going to do something stupid that's going to cost them. I can see it. I just don't know when. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yep.
I thought it was okay, but yeah, I thought last week's episode was better, but it was okay. I mean, the challenges. That's the other thing too. The challenges are getting difficult as well. So.
Yeah, it seems that way at least. All right, Goldberg, any final comments?
Yeah, this week the volleyballers are gone, unfortunately, and they're gonna do a redemption, and Frank and Jerry get one more shot at this time.
Oh man, I listened to their exit interview. It was pretty good, but
they were also on with Gary and D'Angelo on YouTube. So
were they like the Paint Lick team, and they were just kind of happy to be there?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Pretty much. They were happy that they got to spend some father-son time together. I don't think they really thought they were going to win the whole thing at any point. Because the father was saying that the son had to pretty much do everything. So
did you hear how they got onto the show? I don't know if you heard how they got on. It was kind of crazy.
I haven't. I didn't hear that.
Frank, like one of his friends' mom knows the casting director, and they tried out for, I guess, probably season 31, and they didn't get picked, and then they got called back, basically, and they said they didn't have to try out. They could just go straight to 32. So that's how they got picked. So, yep.
They also told a funny story how they were racing. I don't know if it was the second episode. But how, the Olympians were always kind of last with Frank and Jerry and the Blondes in the second or third episode. And he said that we were running so fast that I don't know, who's the older one? Jerry? I think Jerry, right? Yeah, mm-hmm. He's like that. Jerry was running so fast that he ran right by the Olympians.
Wow.
It's just pretty hard to believe. But
yeah.
He's like, you can go back and watch the tape. My father was running right by the Olympians.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's impressive for his age.
Yeah, but they'll get the redemption this week. They'll be back on the show. So.
All right, Calbert, any final thoughts?
No, it's this this episode with Paris should be good. I will buy I'll buy Goldberg's theory, even though I have Kaylin and Haley finishing 8th, which means they're going to finish last and they're going to be eliminated this week. It would not surprise me. I will jump on Goldberg's theory of somebody's going to get eliminated that we don't expect.
I mean, who are the teams that we expect right now? We got the Blondes, Leo and Alana, and maybe Michelle and Victoria.
I think it's going to be the volleyballers or Michelle and Victoria. That's what I'm gonna. Because I can easily see Michelle and Victoria dropping down right back to towards the end.
Sure.
Yeah. But I would say I think we could all agree that an absolute shock would be the volleyballers, Hung and Chi, Will and James, right? I think that's the top.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised with anyone else being eliminated. Any of the other 5 teams, even Eswar and Aparna. I mean, it could happen to them.
Yeah.
Michelle and Victoria wouldn't be surprised. Alana and Leo wouldn't be surprised. Gary and D'Angelo wouldn't be surprised. And Kaylin and Haley. So I think there's really just 3 teams that we can all agree would be shocking.
Yeah, they're clearly the cut up above the rest, at least through 4 weeks.
Right.
I mean, this can easily change. I mean, Hung and Chi could just have they could go on a slump. Who knows?
They could be the team eliminated. Who the hell knows?
They could.
They could.
Yep.
I just don't think it's going to be Will and James based on the preview for the episode. It's just not going to be the team that you tell us it's going to be. It's just not.
Right, and that's just it. Like that goes back to what I said earlier about just because you finished first the last 2 weeks, or just because you finished first one leg, doesn't mean you're going to finish first the next leg. I mean,
exactly.
It can change in an instant.
They have to lead us to believe that the team that just finished first easily 2 weeks in a row is going to struggle. I mean,
right? You have to put the fear of God into every team has to have the fear of God put in them.
Right.
On the show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be this week. For Will and James. I'll say this. I'll add on to what I just said. I don't think Will and James finish first this week, even though I have them.
No, I agreed.
I think Alana and Leo could finish first this week.
They could.
They could. Yep. I think they're starting to hit their stride.
I mean,
I think
I really want to try out for the show.
The same here. We're gonna be waiting a little bit, though.
If we try 11 times, I think that's the magic number.
Oh.
If we come up with some kind of crazy reason why we should be on the show,
right.
If Will and James, I mean, I'm not. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. We will be back next week to wrap up episode 5 from Paris. And that'll be it. We'll see you next week. We're out.